This speech was delivered in convention address at a University Law College, Lahore, on Saturday, the 30th March 1957, in praise of the honorable profession, with some blame here and there. Bachelor of Law, I have come to address you before you get married to the profession. All true bachelors need advice, but not a single hour advice for a long course on the troubled waters of matrimony. The advice you have been receiving from your professors during the course of these 2 years in gentle terms, and this advice you will receive hereafter from courts in less gentle terms. And whether or not you are well equipped for your work depends on how you receive this subsequent advice and how you react to it. I know a friend now well placed in life, a practicing lawyer who could not stand rebuke and who therefore remained ill for 2 or 3 years until a benevolent providence had removed him to the platform from which he could himself administer rebuke. Whenever I met him during those 2 or 3 years, he complained of bad health and seldom failed to place it on the same pedestal with high-class diseases like asthma. It was only after he had joined the service that I diagnosed his malady to have been a form of nervous indisposition which reacted unfavorably to the court scenarios. But some others react differently, finding it necessary to explain to their client why a rebuke was administered to him. They tell him that there was old feud between him and magistrate since the day of college, when the magistrate was just humble pie, while he himself was the peaches and cream. This would not be so bad, but they add it a cheap story about money having been passed, and the story goes around. I do not say that money does not pass. In fact, the money which is worth looking at these days is the money that can pass round. And this is no compliment to your country, particularly from a judge of high court. But I will tell you a story which I know about myself. When I was a district and session judge in Kamalpur, a litigant applied to the High Court for the transfer of an appeal from my court on the ground that I had remanded it on an earlier occasion for rehearing, and that consequently I must be prejudiced in favor of the party who benefited by the remand order. After the application had been dismissed in the High Court, I refused to hear the appeal on the ideal ground that I do not force my decision on a party who has no confidence in me. I therefore transferred the case to the district and session judge Rawalpindi. This upset the counsel for the other party, who had perhaps to refund his fees, and when I explained to him my point of view, he reacted in some such words. I submit most respectfully that although your idealism is laudable, it is not fitted to our system. If we lose a case, we do not tell the client that his case was weak. We tell him the presiding officer must have been approached. Young man, is this honorable? You have heard that this is a honorable profession. It is for this reason that unprofessional conduct or professional misconduct has been made punishable. It is for this reason that unprofessional conduct or professional misconduct has been made punishable. In actual practice, only not unprofessional conduct is visited with penalty, because the rest of it does not come to our notice directly, though it is constantly and persistently dined into our ears. This has the effect of the prejudicing our mind against the profession as a whole. Young man, I am a frank critic of your profession, but so far as it goes, I have been a frank critic of everything all of my life, and by Allah, although I have suffered for it, you do need a frank criticism of your institutions. But if I can read myself correctly, my angle of vision must naturally be that of a person who was brought up in different surroundings, in the atmosphere of a service which by reason of its aloofness created prejudices against itself, but as the gift of seeing ourselves as others see us is not given to everybody. To see ourselves as others see us, you can be sure that my criticism will be less prejudiced in your favor than that of professional men. I speak of the service not because I have any obsessions about it, as some gentlemen have about the bar as the chief college student had about their college in days of war. I speak of it because in due course you will receive its impact, and whether the impact results in a fatal collision as though it were an accident, or a happy union as though it were a social meeting, depends upon your intelligent appreciation of each other. After the boiling process in college, the cream of intellect in particular places take the district become divided in two main groups, the services and the bar. It does not go into business as the pay commission assumed in 1949. Each is indispensable to others and to the country, but you should so conduct yourself as to make yourself indispensable to the dispensation of justice. The court should be able to rely on you and be anxious to hear you. My earliest impressions of the bar are not favorable to this view, and as a magistrate I regarded the accused counsel as a positive abstraction. This was partly my fault, but partly the counsel's. Some of these counsels behaved as though they themselves were going to be imprisoned. Some others encouraged the client to make personal allegations in transfer applications, themselves remaining in the background. And now that I mention transfer applications, it is in the field particularly that the liar commits atrocious, atrocious immorality and supports it by an affidavit from his client. We have come to know that in quite a responsible percentage of cases, an application for transfer is made because the counsel is attending to other work. Then, since it is necessary to save the bond by making an application, and since an application must be supported by a reason, they tell us that the magistrate was seen having tea with the mother of the accused. However, I was telling you how the council, instead of aiding in the administration of justice, hinders it. The accused person informs you about the facts of the case, and if you find that he is innocent, cross-examine the witness to be providing for the end. If he is not altogether innocent, see whether his conduct can be brought under a more benign provision of a law. Cases of right can be turned with skillful advocacy into cases of self-defense, or at least provocation. These are things which the prosecution generally tries to conceal, and which it is for you to bring out and beyond the domain of the facts is the law which requires interpretation. It is here mostly that your assistance is needed most. The law is becoming more and more complex. What will, with the effort of business crooks to get over it? What with the effort of the executive to overreach the courts? It is your duty to maintain contact with all changes and amendments. For the absence of a notification sometimes makes the entire proceedings of a public functionary illegal. Recently, we saw the legal profession reaping a rich crop of profit from the omission of the government or to notify a certain officer as Rehabilitation Commissioner in Multan, permitting him to act without power for a whole year or more. You must have heard it said that lawyers are officers of the court. That phrase should always remind you of your duty. An officer of the court assists the court, and the Attorney General and the Advocate General are not infrequently invited expressly by the High Court to assist them in the important cases. Your duty, therefore, does not end with securing an acquittal or having a suit dismissed. If you have reached these ends by misleading the court as to facts or law, your conduct is not professional, and yet cases of the description where the counsel deliberately tries to mislead the court are not rare. You will not believe it that only last week a very senior counsel, wearing a respectable robe of lawyer and appearing before the Chief Justice and myself, produced a document which he claimed to be an order passed in his case by the Corporation of the City of Lahore. But which on the face of it purported to relate to another case, and when this was pointed out to him, he brazenly replied that the order in his case was also similar, but that it was not then available. You have also heard it is said that the bar and the bench are part of the same machine. Don't be flattered. I say no such thing. I only say that you can be two wheels of the same cart if you are honest in your dealings both with the client and the court. But if you cannot be honest, I would rather take the cart with one wheel. You have also heard of the traditions of the bar. I do not know what I should tell you about them. I hope your professors have told you it is too vague a term to be controlled by a definition. What you find your senior doing you regard as a tradition, but tradition must be a thing of which you can be proud. If you find your seniors start their mornings by obtaining adjournments, you are not pursuing a tradition of which you can boast. Your traditions are based on the practice of the English bar, and in England I do not know what a judge might do if you ask him for an adjournment, and yet, notwithstanding express rules, and the adjournment will not be granted in the High Court if you ask for them on the day of hearing. Your seniors who are guide you to in the profession daily expose themselves to the charge of misconduct by asking for adjournment. In some cases, they do so because they have not prepared the case. Gentlemen, one of the gravest offences that a counsel can commit is to present himself without preparing his case. So far, I have said unpleasant things to you. That is because living as we do in the same house, it is necessary for us to be frank with each other. You will remember that I started with the subject of marriage and addressed you as bachelor of law. Let me end with the same subject and hope that your marriage with the legal profession will bring to you a happy fulfillment. It is remarkable that even lawful wedlock sometimes produce illegitimate children. I cannot express myself with decorum, but if you have any political learning and develop it in the course of your advocacy, you are bidding fair to produce such children. Well, God bless you. I wanted you to be guardians of public and political morality and to beget legitimate children. I said that the cream of the intellect in a given place resolves itself into two main groups, the services and the bar. The services are precluded by their traditions and their rules of conduct from showing any political bias or making any public statements. On you, therefore, resets the responsibility of molding public opinion and of expressing yourself frankly and critically when the government misconducts itself. I am sorry to say that a very few bodies of lawyers have regarded themselves with any responsibility in this matter, and I was constrained on one occasion to say in the course of a judgment to which for four other judges were signatories that except for a few songs of mourning, no bar association had found the strength of our dignity to express itself strongly on taking way of the writ jurisdiction in 1955. Gentlemen, although you have now a constitution on which you can swear your country has not settled down to political stability, and if the way to such stability lies in the application of Article 193, then an arduous path lies before you, the path of the duty, and I say again, God bless you.